In the cold, pouring rain, a woman battles with the ghosts of her past, and a homeless man once lost in the shadows changed both his own fate and hers. This is a story of redemption of humanity overcoming wounds. Haras, a brave police officer, is haunted by the death of her close partner. But one night, a homeless man named Mekiel appears offering her not just help in a dangerous moment, but a lesson in trust and sacrifice. Join me as we uncover the journey of two seemingly distant souls bound to save each other in the darkest of times. Can they find peace in the hidden corners of their lives? Stay tuned for this touching story coming up next. The town of Crimson had been living in a storm for 3 days and 3 nights. The rain didn't just fall, it poured down like a cold steel curtain, obscuring every sound and color of the world. The sky was pitch black, swallowing the streetlights, and leaving behind only puddles that gleamed like thousands of soulless eyes on the drenched pavement. This was the kind of downpour that could blur even pain, a kind of rain you'd want to dissolve into to vanish forever from harsh reality. Haras, in her thin raincoat, felt every cold drop of water soak into her bones. She disliked this raincoat. It was too flimsy, not enough to stop the chilly wind from piercing her chest. But she couldn't wear a warmer one. She had to patrol to face the biting wind and the standing water, because this was her job, her mission. Haras was a police officer in the Crimson Town Night Task Force. She had a beautiful but lifeless face, her blue eyes often staring into the distance as if searching for something long lost. She had a slender physique, yet possessed a remarkable strength enough to fight the most dangerous criminals. In her line of work, Haras had been through a lot, but one event haunted her forever. It was the death of her partner, a close friend. A simple bank robbery had turned into a tragedy. The robber had shot her partner in the head right in front of her. She had returned fire, taking down the criminal, but it was too late. Her partner was gone, leaving a deep scar in her heart. Since then, Haras had carried a sense of guilt. She felt she had failed, that she couldn't protect her friend. She threw herself into work with a frenzied intensity, working day and night, trying to atone for her mistake. She always wanted to patrol alone, to venture into the darkest alleys where no one dared to go. She wanted to find the criminals, the ones who had destroyed her life, and she wanted to punish them. Tonight was no different. Haras was alone again, patrolling a deserted street. The cold rain made her body shiver, but she didn't care. She only wanted to search, to find something to do. And then she saw him, a ghost of Crimson City. He was sitting on a stone bench, huddled in a thin blanket, his whole body shaking uncontrollably. It was Mekiel, a homeless man, who had lived here for over 10 years. Haras had seen him many times, but she had never dared to speak to him. She didn't want to bother him, nor did she want to be bothered by him. But tonight something was very different. Mekiel's eyes were no longer lifeless. They were strangely bright, like two burning embers in the night. Haras stopped her car, got out, and walked toward him. She felt a strange tension, a feeling she had never had before. She felt as if something was about to happen, something terrible. "Hey," Haras's voice was hoarse, muffled by the wind and rain. Mekiel looked up, his eyes fixed on Haras. He didn't say anything, just watched her intently. He looked at her as if he wanted to say something. Haras felt confused. She wanted to tell him that he should go somewhere to get out of the rain. She wanted to tell him that he shouldn't be here, that this place was too dangerous. But she couldn't bring herself to speak. Just then Mekiel opened his mouth. His voice was hoarse and barely audible, as if he hadn't spoken in years. "Don't talk, just listen," he whispered. Haras froze. She had never heard Mikhail speak, and she had never thought he would. His voice was like a ghost's whisper, a voice from another world. "A stranger is waiting for you right in that alley." He continued, his voice still hoarse but full of urgency. Haras turned to look at the alley. It was a small, dark, and wet alley where no one dared to go at night. She had never felt afraid entering such alleys, but tonight was different. She felt a chilling sensation, a feeling that something terrible was waiting for her. "Who?" Haras asked, her voice tense. Mikhail shook his head. "I don't know, but he's been there for a long time. He's waiting for you." Haras looked at him, then at the alley. She didn't know if she should trust him. She was a police officer. She was trained to trust her instincts, but she was also taught not to trust the homeless. She felt an intense internal struggle. Just then, a small sound echoed. A clink of something hitting metal. It was the sound of a knife, the sound of a killer. Haras turned back immediately, drawing her gun and pointing it toward the alley. She knew she had been ambushed. The attacker was waiting for her, and he was ready to strike. Mikhail was right. He wasn't a madman. He was a person who had seen the truth, someone who had seen what she had not. Haras stood tall, her eyes fixed on the alley. She knew she had to fight, and she had to fight alone. No one could help her, no one could protect her. Just then, a figure appeared. It was a man in black holding a gleaming knife. He didn't say anything, just looked at Haras with cold eyes like a venomous snake. Haras fired a warning shot into the air, a warning. But the man didn't back down. He moved toward her, his steps quick and decisive. "Don't you move!" Haras shouted. The attacker said nothing, just smirked. He had a plan. He would attack her, and he would kill her. Haras felt a surge of panic. She knew she couldn't fight him. He was too fast, too strong. Just then, Mikhail lunged forward. He didn't hesitate, he wasn't afraid. He rushed at the attacker, holding him tightly. The attacker was startled. He hadn't anticipated this. He had thought he only had to face a female police officer, not a homeless man. Mikhail and the attacker fell to the ground, rolling in a puddle. The rain still fell, soaking them both. Haras stood stunned. She couldn't believe what she was seeing. She couldn't believe that a homeless man would risk his life to save her. Haras got up and ran to Mikhail. She looked at him, then at the attacker. She knew she had to do something. She had to save Mikhail. Haras raised her gun, aiming it directly at the attacker. She was ready to shoot, but she didn't want to harm Mikhail. The attacker saw the gun, startled. He let go of Mikhail and ran away. Haras didn't chase him. She didn't care about him. She only cared about Mikhail. She knelt down, helping him up. "Are you okay?" she asked, her voice trembling. Mikhail shook his head, breathing heavily. He was injured, but he was okay. Haras looked at Mikhail, feeling an immense sense of gratitude. She felt that he had not only saved her, but he had also redeemed her soul. She had found a friend, someone who trusted her, and who dared to risk his life to protect her. Mikhail looked at Haras, giving a weak smile. "I'm okay. I'm fine," he whispered. Haras burst into tears. She couldn't hold back her emotions. She felt that she had found a true friend, someone she hadn't had for so many years. "Thank you," she said, her voice choked with emotion. "Thank you so much." Mikhail shook his head. "No need to thank me. You would have done the same." Haras looked at him, then at the knife in his hand. She knew that he had not only saved her, but he had also saved himself. He wasn't a nameless homeless man. He was a hero. The story has only just begun. The next morning, the sun struggled to pierce through the misty, fogged-up glass of Crimson General Hospital. Its faint yellow light couldn't dispel the heavy atmosphere, the smell of antiseptic, and the distant wail of ambulances. Haras had stayed there all night. She couldn't leave. The hard chair in the waiting room became her temporary sanctuary, where she could quietly watch Mikhail through the small window. He lay there, on a pristine white bed, a shoulder wound carefully bandaged. Although he had been bathed and given clean clothes, his face still bore the marks of fatigue and exhaustion. Haras's heart was heavy. She still couldn't forget the moment he lunged at the attacker. It wasn't an act of recklessness, but the calculated move of someone who had experienced battle. Moreover, Mikhail didn't scream or groan when he was injured. He just remained silent, accepting the pain as a part of life. This left Haras more confused and curious than ever. When Mikhail woke up, his eyes still held a look of wariness. He looked at Haras, then around the room as if trying to find a way to escape. "I don't want to be here," he said, his voice still hoarse. "I have to go." Haras walked into the room as gently as if afraid of shattering the silence. "You can't leave. You need to be monitored. Your wound is quite deep," she said. "I'm fine. I'm used to this," Mikhail replied, trying to get up. But a sharp pain made him falter. Haras immediately supported him. "No, you're not fine. You did something reckless to save me. Now let me do something for you." Her voice was filled with determination, but also with a touch of pleading. "Let me help you." Mikhail looked deep into her eyes. He saw the sincerity. This wasn't pity, but gratitude and a strange kind of empathy. He sighed, then slumped back onto the bed, his resistance gone. In the following days, Haras visited Mikhail frequently. She brought food, newspapers, and even books. She sat there telling him stories about her work, her life, and what she had been through. She shared the pain of losing her closest partner. It was the first time she had dared to confide in a stranger. She felt that only Mikhail could understand the loneliness and guilt she carried. "I couldn't protect him," Haras whispered. "I failed." Mikhail listened silently. A flicker of understanding lit up his eyes. He understood that torment. He had been through it too. "Someone's death is not your fault." Mikhail said, his voice now a little warmer. "Sometimes life is an unfair fight, and we can't always win." Mikhail's words touched Haras's heart. She felt a strange connection with him, one she had never had with anyone else. One afternoon when Haras came to visit, she saw a blonde nurse changing Mikhail's bandage. The nurse looked at Mikhail with an expression full of concern. "Long time no see, Mikhail," the nurse said. "I thought you were gone for good." Mikhail was startled. He looked at the nurse with a confused expression. "I don't know you." The nurse smiled. "You've forgotten me, I'm Lily. You helped me a lot in that bus accident 10 years ago." Haras was stunned. She had read about that accident. A bus had lost control and crashed into a mountainside, leaving many people seriously injured. Mikhail at the time was still homeless, but he had rushed to the scene helping the victims despite his own injuries. Haras looked at Mikhail with a look of admiration. She had been wrong. He wasn't an ordinary homeless man. He was a hero. When Lily left, Haras couldn't hold back her curiosity. "What did you do in that accident?" she asked. Mikhail just shook his head. "Nothing special. I just helped the victims." Haras didn't believe him. She knew he had done more than just help. She knew he had risked his life to save people. "You survived, Mikhail," she said, "and you saved many others. That's something to be truly cherished." Mikhail was silent. His eyes stared into the distance as if looking into a void. He seemed to be recalling painful memories. One day, as Haras was reading a book about ancient cities, she accidentally spoke a word in Latin. Veni vidi vici, she said, then smiled. It's a great saying. Mikhail immediately looked up, his eyes shining brightly. That's a famous saying by Julius Caesar, he said. And it means, I came, I saw, I conquered. Haras was stunned. She couldn't believe a homeless man knew Latin. Where did you learn Latin? She asked. Mikhail didn't answer. He just looked at her with a confused expression. Haras knew she had touched a deep scar of his. She apologized and changed the subject, but her curiosity had been piqued. Haras returned to the police station and began searching for information about Mikhail. She used every tool she had. She searched through criminal records, missing persons files, but found nothing. He didn't exist in the system. Haras felt at a dead end. She knew she couldn't find him through normal means. She had to find another way. Haras visited an old friend of her father's, a retired private detective. He was a smart man, and he had helped her many times before. Haras told him about Mikhail. He listened attentively, then he said, he could be a person who is dead on paper, someone who has disappeared from society. Haras was startled. Dead on paper. What does that mean? There are many people who are dead on paper, he said. They have been erased from the system. It could be voluntary, or they could have been forced to disappear. Haras felt a shiver. She knew she was stepping into a dangerous world. You should stop, he said. Don't get involved in this. It's too dangerous. Haras didn't listen. She knew she couldn't abandon Mikhail. She knew she had to help him. She returned to the hospital and told Mikhail she had found some information about him. Mikhail immediately became wary. I don't want to know, he said. Let the past lie. Haras shook her head. No, the past will never lie. It will always haunt you until you face it. Mikhail looked at Haras. His eyes were filled with anger and despair. He didn't want to talk about his past. He didn't want to remember the painful things. I don't want you getting involved in this, he said. You'll be in danger. Haras took his hand. I'm not afraid of danger. I promised you I would help you, and I'll keep my promise. Mikhail looked at her. His eyes held skepticism. He couldn't believe a stranger would do all this for him. Haras knew she had to prove to him that she was trustworthy. She had to show him that she wouldn't abandon him and she would always be by his side. Trust me, she said. I will never abandon you. I will always be by your side no matter what happens. Mikhail looked at Haras. He saw the sincerity in her eyes. He felt a warmth spreading through his heart, a feeling he hadn't had in so many years. All right, he said. I'll trust you. Haras smiled. So tell me about your past. I want to know everything about you. Mikhail sighed, and then he began to tell his story. He talked about his life before he became homeless. He talked about his career, his family, and what had happened. Haras listened attentively. She felt a pain rising in her heart. She knew he had been through a tragic life. And then I lost everything, he said, his voice trembling. I lost my family, I lost my job, and I lost my honor. Haras took his hand. I'm so sorry, she said. I can't imagine what you've been through. Mikhail shook his head. It's okay. It's all in the past. Haras knew that wasn't true. The past was still haunting him. She knew she had to help him face it. We'll face it together, she said. You're not alone anymore. Mikhail looked at her. A single tear rolled down his cheek. He had found a friend, someone who trusted him, and someone who dared to risk their life to protect him. And most importantly, he had found hope. In the following days, Mikhail was discharged from the hospital. He didn't return to the old alley. Haras found a small, simple but clean room for him. Even with a place to stay, Mikhail still carried an invisible guard. He was like a wild animal, accustomed to life in the wilderness, unable to easily integrate into the human world. He remained quiet, spoke little, and there was always an invisible wall separating him from the outside world. Haras was in no hurry. She understood. She was patient, and every day she made time to visit him. Not to control him, but just to talk, to bring him a little warmth from the world he had abandoned. She brought him books he liked, and food he couldn't get himself. She sat there telling him stories about her work, the cases she had solved, and the people she had helped. She wanted him to see that there were still good things in the world, and that he wasn't an outcast. One evening, Haras visited Mikhail and found him sitting on the floor, intently reading a book. The book wasn't an ordinary one. It was written in ancient Greek. Haras was stunned. She knew he was intelligent, but she couldn't believe he also knew ancient Greek. "You know ancient Greek too?" she asked. Mikhail was startled, and he immediately hid the book. "Just an old hobby." Haras smiled. "You don't have to hide. You're very talented. You should use your talent to do something useful." Mikhail shook his head. "I can't. I don't belong in this world. I died a long time ago." Harris's heart ached. She knew he was talking about the scars in his heart, scars that could never heal. "You can't live in the past forever," she said. "You have to face it. You have to overcome it. And I will help you." Mikhail looked at her. His eyes were full of doubt. "Why are you doing all this for me? You don't have to." Haras took his hand. "Because I believe in you. I believe that you are a good person. And I know you can do great things." Haras's words touched Mikhail's heart. He felt a warmth spreading inside him, a feeling he hadn't had in so many years. He felt that he was no longer alone, and he had found a friend, someone who believed in him. Haras made a decision. She wouldn't let him live in the shadows anymore. She would help him find his place in society again. Haras returned to the police station. She told her captain that she wanted Mikhail to work at the station. Her captain, a middle-aged man, laughed. "A homeless man. Are you kidding? Do you know he could be a criminal?" Haras shook her head. "He's not a criminal. He's a good person. He saved my life. And he's very talented. He speaks many languages and has a deep knowledge of many fields." Her captain still didn't believe her. "You're letting your emotions get the best of you. You can't let a person like that into the police station. It's too dangerous." Haras didn't give up. She used everything she had to persuade him. She told him about what Mikhail had done, about what he had been through. Finally, her captain agreed. "All right," he said. "I'll give him a chance. But if there's any trouble, I'll fire him immediately." Haras smiled. "Thank you. I won't let you down." Haras returned to Mikhail's room. She told him he had a job. Mikhail couldn't believe what he heard. He felt a panic rising inside him. "I can't do it. I can't fit into your world." Haras took his hand. "You can, and I will always be by your side." On his first day at the police station, Mikhail faced the suspicion and ridicule of some people. They looked at him with contempt. They said he was just a homeless man, a worthless person. Mekiel felt a pain rising in his heart. He felt that he had made a mistake. He shouldn't have agreed with Haras. But then something happened. An immigrant family came to the police station to report a case. They spoke Spanish, and no one could understand them. One of Harris's colleagues, a man who had ridiculed Mekiel, said, "Isn't there anyone here who speaks Spanish?" Mekiel immediately stepped forward. "I can help." He spoke Spanish fluently, and he helped the family explain their story. Everyone in the room was stunned. They couldn't believe that a homeless man could speak Spanish so fluently. After helping the family, Mekiel returned to his seat. He felt a surge of confidence. He knew he had proven his worth. Haras looked at him and smiled. "You did it," she said. "I told you that you could." Mekiel looked at Haras. His eyes were full of gratitude. He knew he had found a true friend, someone who believed in him, and someone who had helped him find his place in society again. In the following days, Mekiel helped many people. He helped victims of crimes, he helped immigrant families, and he helped children from difficult backgrounds. He had become an important person at the police station. Everyone respected him, and they all wanted to work with him. Mekiel had regained his self-confidence. He no longer lived in the shadows. He had found his place in society again. One evening, as he and Harris were taking a walk, Mekiel said, "I never thought I could have a life like this. I thought I would die in an alley, lonely and lost." Haras took his hand. "You didn't die. You lived. And you've done great things." Mekiel looked at her. His eyes were full of gratitude. "Thank you. You changed my life." Haras smiled. "It wasn't me. You changed your own life. I just helped you see it." Mekiel hugged Haras. He felt a warmth spreading in his heart, a feeling he hadn't had in so many years. He knew he had found a true friend, someone who believed in him, and someone who loved him. And most importantly, he had found happiness. After a few weeks of working at the police station, Mekiel was no longer an invisible man. He was not just an interpreter, but a bridge between the police force and the community. He had a special ability to empathize with the forgotten, those who had been in his shoes. He listened to their stories not with the attitude of an officer, but with the compassion of a friend. Haras always watched him from afar, her heart filled with pride. She saw a profound change in him. The despair in his eyes was gone, replaced by a flickering spark of life. His smile, though still hesitant, was much warmer now. They often took walks together after work, strolling down the bustling streets where Mekiel once hid. One evening, while walking down a familiar street, Mekiel stopped in front of a cafe. He looked inside where a family was gathered together enjoying dinner. A deep sadness flickered in his eyes. Haras took his hand. "Is something wrong?" she asked. Mekiel shook his head. "Nothing. It's just, I miss my family." Haras hugged him. She knew he still hadn't overcome the scars of the past. "Tell me," she said. "You don't have to hide anymore. I will always be here for you." Mekiel looked at Haras. He saw the sincerity in her eyes. He felt he could trust her. "I used to be an architect," he said, his voice trembling. "I had a beautiful wife and a lovely son. We had a happy life, but then everything changed." He told her about a major project he was involved in. A high-rise building collapsed due to a design flaw. He was blamed and lost everything. His wife left him, and his son died in an accident. "I couldn't go on," he said. "I thought I had no reason to live. So I ran away, and I lived in the shadows." Haras listened attentively. She felt a pain rising in her heart. She couldn't imagine what he had been through. "It wasn't your fault," she said. "It was an accident. You can't control everything." Mekil shook his head. "I was the one who designed the building. I have to be responsible." Haras took his hand. "You've paid the price, Mekil. You paid it by living in hell for 10 years. Now it's time for you to live again." Mekil looked at her. A tear rolled down his cheek. "I don't know if I can." Haras hugged him. "You can. And I will help you. We will face it together." Haras's words touched Mekil's heart. He felt a warmth spreading inside him, a feeling he hadn't had in so many years. He knew he had found a true friend, someone who believed in him, and someone who loved him. One night after returning from a dangerous mission, Haras went to Mekil's room. She was tired and needed someone to talk to. Mekil had been waiting for her. He had prepared a small dinner, and he had put on some music. Haras smiled. "When did you start doing all this?" Mekil smiled back. "Since I met you." Haras sat down and ate dinner. She felt an unusual sense of peace. She felt that she had found a place to call home. After dinner, they sat on the old sofa talking. They talked about the simple things in life, about their dreams, and about their hopes. Haras told Mekil about her dream. She wanted to become a good police officer, one who could protect the innocent. Mekil listened attentively. He looked at Haras, his eyes filled with admiration. "You're very talented," he said. "You're a very good person." Haras smiled. "You too." Mekil took Haras's hand. "I never thought I could find someone like you. You saved me." Haras shook her head. "You saved yourself. I just helped you see it." Mekil hugged Haras. He felt a warmth spreading in his heart, a feeling he hadn't had in so many years. He knew he had found a true friend, someone who believed in him, and someone who loved him. Haras felt the same. She felt that she had found someone who understood her, someone who accepted her, and someone who loved her. They didn't need to say anything more. They just needed to be together, and they knew they would always be together. That night, they found love, a love built on trust, respect, and understanding. The next day, Mekil decided to face his past. He visited his old house. The house was still there, but it was no longer his home. He walked down the street where he used to live. He saw his old neighbors, but they didn't recognize him. He had changed too much. He visited the cemetery where his wife and son were buried. He knelt down, placing a flower on their graves. "I'm back," he whispered. "I've found someone who loves me, and someone who has helped me find hope again." He felt an unusual sense of peace. He knew he was able to face his past. Mekil returned to the police station and told Haras that he had found peace. Haras hugged him, and she said she was very proud of him. Their lives had changed. They no longer lived in the shadows. They lived in the light, and they had found happiness. They built a new future together, a future full of hope and love. Mekil was no longer a homeless man. He was a husband, a father, and a friend. He had found his place in society again, and most importantly, he had found love. After confronting and reconciling with his past, Mekil was no longer just an employee at the police station. He had become a symbol, a living testament to the power of kindness and redemption. His story spread throughout Crimson. Those who had once been skeptical and scornful now looked at him with respect. A few local newspapers even wanted to interview him, but he always refused. He didn't want to be famous. He just wanted to do something useful. Mikhail found his new mission to be the voice for the homeless, the people forgotten by society. He used his story to inspire them, helping them realize that they could still find hope. He talked to them not as a successful person, but with the empathy of someone who had once been in their position. Haras was always by his side, not just as a girlfriend and a colleague, but as a life partner. She always supported him, encouraging him to do what he believed was right. She had witnessed him transform from a homeless man, living in the shadows, into a person of worth. One evening, as they were walking down the street, they saw a homeless man lying on a stone bench, huddled in a thin blanket. Mikhail immediately walked over, knelt down, and spoke to the man gently. "Would you like a bowl of hot soup?" Mikhail asked. The homeless man was startled, looking at Mikhail with suspicion. "I have nothing to give you," he said. Mikhail smiled. "I don't need anything. I just want to help you." Haras looked at Mikhail, her heart filled with pride. She knew he had changed. He no longer just cared about himself, but also cared about others. Mikhail helped many homeless people. He helped them find shelter, find jobs, and find hope again. He had become a hero of Crimson. One day, Harris's captain called her into his office. He looked at her with satisfaction. "Haras," he said, "you've done something wonderful. You've turned a homeless man into a hero. You've helped him find his place in society. You've helped him find his life again." Haras smiled. "It wasn't me. He did it all himself. I just helped him see it." He nodded. "You're right. But you've also changed. You no longer live in the shadows. You've found someone who loves you, and someone who has helped you find hope." Haras left the office feeling an unusual sense of peace. She knew she had found happiness. One evening, Mikhail and Haras were taking a walk. Mikhail took Haras's hand. "Is something wrong?" Haras asked. Mikhail looked at her. "Haras, I want to ask you something." Haras felt a thrill rising in her heart. Mikhail knelt down, taking out a small box with a ring inside. "Hara," he said, "I once lost everything. I thought I would never find happiness. But then you appeared. You saved me and you gave me a new life. I want you to be my wife. I want to spend the rest of my life loving you and protecting you." Haras burst into tears. She couldn't hold back her emotions. "Yes," she said, "I will." They hugged each other and they knew they would always be together. A few months later, they got married. It was a simple wedding, but it was filled with love. Haras's captain and colleagues came to bless them. The homeless people Mikhail had helped also came standing in a corner, watching them with respect. Mikhail and Haras had a happy life. Mikhail had a stable job, and he bought a small house. He planted a small garden and spent time taking care of it. He had found peace again. And most importantly, he had found love. One night, Mikhail and Haras were sitting on the sofa watching TV. "Did you ever think we'd have a life like this?" Haras asked. Mikhail smiled. "No. I used to think I'd die in an alley, lonely and lost. But then you appeared. You saved me and you gave me a new life." Haras took his hand. "You saved yourself. I just helped you see it." Mikhail kissed Haras. "I love you." Haras smiled. "I love you too." They hugged each other and they knew they would always be together. Mikhail was no longer a homeless man. He was a husband, a father, and a friend. He had found his place in society again. And most importantly, he had found happiness. His mission wasn't just to help others, but to live a happy life. As Mekiel and Harris continue their journey, they show us that redemption isn't just a distant dream. It's a reality we can create through trust, empathy, and the courage to face our darkest fears. Their bond, built on the ashes of pain and loss, becomes a beacon of hope for everyone who has ever felt invisible or alone. Mekiel's transformation from a homeless man to a hero, and Harris's journey from guilt to healing remind us that no one is beyond redemption. Every act of kindness has the power to change a life. If you found this story as inspiring as I did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And let us know in the comments what's one act of kindness you've experienced that changed your life. Thank you for watching, and remember, even in the darkest times, there's always a chance to find hope.